All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the podcast. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, do whatever you can to get this out to as many people as possible. We're really growing and we want to get these important interviews out to as many people. If you're listening to us on one of the podcast sites, we greatly appreciate that also. And if you are listening to us on the radio, we appreciate that. We have Eddie Goodman out. I'm really excited for this interview because we met during the conference and he seems like he's going to bring a lot of fire and fury, and I
That's
bring
right.
the fire too. So, so we're both going to go with each other on that. So again, Eddie Goodman, Earn Our Trust. It's an important app. We're going to be talking about that and a lot of other things, social justice, corporations, a lot of different things. So Eddie, first of all, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the interview.
All right, so Eddie, for the people that don't know you, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and in general what Earn Our Trust is?
Yeah, sure. Earn Our Trust is an app that I created because after the thing with George Floyd, I seen a lot of money was pouring into organizations like Black Lives Matter. And myself, I was the first example of an Earn Our Trust app. Back in the day, I used to provide security and safe passage to youth in South Los Angeles to walk to and from school, during gang infested areas. And, I always would see that, other companies and other businesses was getting love, and companies like myself and other businesses that was actually out there doing the work was getting looked over. So when I seen all that happening with the Black Lives Matter, I was like, no, we need to have a space where if people want to get good products and services, and that business have a business model that's actually giving back. And I'm not talking about, backpacks for schools and turkeys for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. I'm talking about really doing some change in the community. I mean, my attitude is like, if you're paying a living wage, I can afford my kids' backpack. I can afford my own turkey. So it's some fundamental changes that we need to look at society. And that's the reason why I created the Earn Our Trust app.
Eddie, talking about Earn Our Trust, can you talk about how you came up with the title?
Yeah, sure. Because trust is earned, it's not given.
Right.
When you have someone trust and you do something that make them not trust you anymore, it could take years to build somebody's trust, and you can lose it in the blink of an eye. So the reason why I came up with the name Earn Our Trust, because I want to build a community on my platform to whatever business we put on there, we trust them. They've been vetted, and we know they're actually doing the work. So if you want to be on the platform, you have to first earn our trust enough to where we feel that you're actually doing the work. And once we put you on there, you got to continue to keep doing the work, because I also have on the app, it's a part of the section called the Wall of Shame. So anybody who deviates, we put them on the timeout and put them on the Wall of Shame until they get their act together. And if they don't, we just don't support them anymore. But yes, that's how I came up with the name Earn Our Trust. You have to earn our trust before you get on the platform and before my community supports you that lives on our platform.
How do you vet these businesses rather before you put them on the app?
It's within our app, but it's called the Wall of Shame. So it's like accountability. So we'll put you on the Wall of Shame so the community know, and then we'll tell them, hey, this is what they deviated from. But to answer your question is, I had a research team, research online of different businesses that was like, I don't know if you've been to the app, but we have a pizza parlor that's in Philadelphia called Down North Pizza. And the only thing they do is hire people that's been incarcerated. You know what I mean? And so what we do is we check out the reviews. If I know somebody live in Philly, I might call them, say, hey, are they the real deal? And I'm a startup, I got me and a couple of employees. So, we don't have the big bucks like Google and them, but, if everybody's, all the reviews and people are saying they're doing a good job, that's how we're vetting them. I've called and I talked to them, they seem like they're some pretty good guys, and they got a lot of media press, talking about the mission that they're doing. So that's kind of like how we vet them, but in the future, somebody would probably fill out a form. We'll do the same thing. We'll do a little background check, make sure they talk to the people in the community, make sure that the bottom line is this, it has to be measurable, right? So in other words, like if you're saying that you're doing something that's making a change in the community, I have to see results. And if I don't see results, there's no need to be on our platform because you're not producing results. But if you're producing results, that's one of the ways that we'll vet you.
Eddie, I want to talk about this with the app. I know the app is somewhat new. You know, obviously it's not ran by Google or anything,
Right,
but you guys
right.
have done an extremely good job at that, and I've investigated this before the interview.
Mhm.
You know, can you talk about, and you've kind of dove into this a little bit about how the app works and how, people, give their opinions. How do you feel like this app really pushes support toward Black businesses? Is it just mainly that review system you feel like, or is there other things?
Well, let's take a case study with Black Down North Pizza in Philadelphia. Well, let me back up a little bit. So
Sure.
yes, we are new. What I'm adding now is a search bar. So like whatever city you're in, you can put your zip code in and it'll let you know either there's a business in your area. And then I'm going to also say, hey, there's not a responsibly owned business in your area, but hey, won't you start one? So what we need to do is start reimagining how we support businesses and retrain business owners to want to take more ownership of helping not only the Black community, but all communities. I mean, like when Walmart moves into a small town, what happens to the mom and pop shops? They all get gone because everybody's going to Walmart. We need to redirect that patronizing. I'm not saying don't go to Walmart, but don't not just neglect your mom and pop shops. That's really the cornerstone of your community. And so to answer your question, let's take Down North Pizza in Philadelphia. There's three things that pizzeria it does for the Black community or anybody. I mean, if there was a white guy who was incarcerated, he would get a job. So I just want people to make it clear when we say Black-owned business, it's not like we're just like only helping Black people. It's anybody within that community that needs the help. So let's get that out the way. So they exclusively only hire people that's been incarcerated. So what does that do for the Black community? Someone who wants help, who does not want to go back to committing crimes, when they get out of jail, or if they've been out of jail for a while, they can get employment because they only target that population. So they can have a job. Because what happens is, if I've been in prison and I'm get frustrated because I keep filling out applications, and sooner or later, employers do have a right to do a background check. So even though they take the box off, only reason why they do that is because at least give you an opportunity to sit down with your employer or a future employer and do an impression, makes them say, hey, this seems like a nice guy. They don't just prejudge because they think you've been in prison. So that's really the reason why they got rid of the box. So now, if I can't find a job and I live in the Black community, what I'm going to do to put food on the table? I'm gonna revert back to what I know, right, Rob? So I'm gonna start committing crimes. And who I'm going to be committing crimes against? Other Black people, because I live in the Black community. So now what does it do? It solves and it puts a decrease in Black on Black crime, because if they're not committing crimes because they have employment, they're not committing crimes against other Black people. Another thing that this place do, they give them free rent for 6 months, because the pizza parlor, the guy who bought the building, their apartment buildings on top and retail on the bottom. So he gives them a place to live for 6 months, let them save their money so they can move out of his place and go get their own place. Now it's solving a housing issue, because now you're not out there, committing crimes and being homeless. Now you got a place to stay. So now it's attacking the homeless issue. Now, most of the guys, when they can't find a job, they either commit more crimes or they become homeless. They start taking drugs because they're depressed. So not only is it dealing with Black on Black crime, it's dealing with homelessness, it's dealing with drug use, and it's dealing with police brutality. Because I give you an example. If I'm not out there committing crime, I lessen the chance to have a negative interaction with law enforcement, right? Because as soon as the police come up and catch you in the act of you doing something, that can turn all the way bad. You know what I'm saying? Use of force, deadly force. So now if we keep these guys busy and keep them employed and house them and mentor them and show them how to get their credit together and even teach them how to open up their own business if they have the entrepreneur spirit, those are the kind of businesses that we need to support and invest in. I always tell people, Down North Pizza should be a household name. We should scale that business nationwide and make them the next Pizza Hut, because at least the CEO of Down North Pizza have a business model that's socially responsible to actually tackle the needs within the Black community.
When we talk about, Black-owned businesses in general, what do you feel like is the biggest issue for them to survive? I know COVID's been huge for all kinds of small businesses in general, but besides COVID, even before COVID, what are you seeing as far as these Black-owned businesses, as far as problems for them surviving?
Well, a lot of got to do with, Black people, African Americans in America, and this has been, you can Google this, they say that we have 1.2 trillion spending power. In other words, that's how much money we make, and that's how much money we spend. So that's why a lot of commercials like Nike and jerseys for these basketball players, they're always marketed into the African American community, because we consume a lot of goods. Also Americans, right? Americans in general consume a lot of stuff. So the reason why I said we need an app like EarnOurTrust is because we can put businesses on there who are socially responsible and redirect some of that 1.2 trillion to businesses who are actually doing something positive. So to answer your question in the general sense, we just need to redirect our spending power to support our own businesses, and not just African Americans, but anybody who wants to, support a Black-owned business. We need a space where you can find these businesses and redirect. Now, there's other apps out there that promote Black-owned businesses, and that's a start. But the difference between my app and those other apps, I'm just not into just promoting any Black-owned business, because I look at it like this. What's the difference between another business that's not owned by a Black person, that's just taking our money, and a Black person who owns a business that's just taking our money? If they're both not doing anything, what's the point? You follow what I'm saying?
No,
so yeah. And even if you read on my EarnOurTrust app, I talked about American companies shipping jobs overseas.
That's right.
So as Americans, we should not support businesses that don't support the American people. But we need a space where we can separate the businesses that support the American people from the ones that are just interested in making a profit. And as a consumer who believes in voting with their pocketbook, I will make a conscious decision to say, well, I'm not going to support this business because clearly they don't care about the American people. But I'm going to support this business over here because they do at least care about the American people. I usually don't give out names of big businesses, but like here on the West Coast, we got In-N-Out is a hamburger franchise. I mean, their managers are making six figures because they privately own. Yeah, they're privately owned, and they don't have to worry about shareholders and trying to cut costs and do all this stuff. It's all about the money. It's about quality with them, not quantity. And so I support businesses like that because I say, hey, you can get a living wage entry level. And if you work your way up in In-N-Out, you can, as a manager, make six figures. That's the American dream. So we just got to separate the businesses that really care about people from the ones that only care about the bottom line. And EarnOurTrust is that platform because not only do we support Black-owned businesses, but we also got businesses on there that are not owned by Black people that are actually socially responsible, giving back to the American people.
I want to bring up this quote, and then I got a couple of questions on your documentary. But I want to bring up this quote. It just happened recently, I would say maybe a couple days back, with Snoop Dogg and Joe Rogan. I do listen to Joe Rogan's podcast. I know people say that he's some white supremacist, but if you actually listen to Joe Rogan, he's actually fairly progressive, and he actually said that he voted for Bernie Sanders. So personally, I don't think people that are white supremacists vote for Bernie Sanders.
No, I know Joe. I like Joe. So you're good.
but anyway, no, I'm just saying to anybody listening in general.
Yeah.
So Snoop Dogg was on there a couple days back, and they did the podcast together, 3 hours long. And there was a statement that Joe said to Snoop Dogg, and they both agreed on. And I'm going to read this statement and see what your opinion is. It says, if they keep dividing us by race and nationality, then we won't pay attention to the fact that they're really dividing us by class.
Mhm.
I think that's an extremely important quote. And this is the American, we talked about this in the convention, that the corporations, they say all this bullshit about Black Lives Matter, and then they shit on Black people, they shit on poor people, they shit on everybody. But, and then we have all this identity politics bullshit that's going on in our country, pitting, Black against white, Hispanic, Native American, Latino, whatever it may be, against each other, when it doesn't get to that core problem, is that the 1% is screwing the middle class and the poor.
That is
and soon there'll be no middle class. It'll just be 1% and poor. And they want that. So pitting these race wars and this Kyle Rittenhouse crap and all this stuff like that out there, that's just, in my opinion, is a facade to keep Black people against white people and Hispanic people and all this coded language that's out there by Trump and other Republicans and even some Democrats too. And it's to pit everybody against each other so the 1% can keep grabbing and taking whatever the hell they want. And then me and you will be fighting about bullshit and they'll be just screwing us left and right. So again, just to go back to that quote and what I said, what is your opinion on that?
I agree 100%. I think that once we get, one of the biggest things I see in this country is the race problem that we have, because every time we have an issue, it's always like based on race. We have to get past that. We're all human beings. We all want the same thing. We want good health care. We want to have enough resources to take care of our everyday needs, which is money. We want to be able to, if we have children, we want them to have a good education. And so I think the basic fundamentals I think everybody just wants the basic fundamentals. Besides that, whatever you believe as far as religion or sexual preference and stuff like that, that's your business. You know what I mean? As long as we're not discriminating against people, as long as we're not, as long as we have understanding and empathy for whatever people go through, because I think that's another problem. We don't have empathy. It's just like, hey, that's your problem, whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's another problem that we have. We don't care. We don't understand. We don't have respect for what other people's needs are and feelings and all that kind of stuff. And if we would just do that, from a humanity standpoint, this will be a better country and this will be a better world. But no, I agree with you 100%. That's why we need platforms like EarnOurTrust and platforms like yours, is because we need to unite people of goodwill. People that feel like me and you, that want to do the right thing, that's not looking at color, that's saying, hey, man, I bleed, just like you bleed. I need oxygen. I get sick like you get sick. Like, we're all human. So if we can get past the noise, I think that it would be a beautiful thing. But we just need to unite. We just need to unite on the fundamental principles, and what's outside the fundamental principles, what I just named, health care, making sure you got, money to take care of your everyday needs, education for your kids, the basic fundamental principles. I think outside of that, we should not of course, we're going to have different opinions. We're not going to all agree on everything. We all have our own vices and whatnot, but that should not be enough to tear the country down. But unfortunately, that is what's happening. We're letting those other things just tear this country apart. And this is the greatest country in the world. I've traveled all over the world, but this country, America, the opportunity, you got people like Elon Musk who came from, South Africa to come to America and is one of the richest men in the world, and that could be anybody. It could have been a Black man that could have done that. There's Black billionaires out there. But the thing about it is, that's here. That's why everybody want to come here, because of the opportunity. But we gotta stop all the civil unrest, but we gotta fix the root of the problem. We don't want civil unrest, but you don't want to fix, the root of the problem.
So, what is going on in California? I mean, there's gangs, there's places that look like third world countries in LA. I don't know what's going on. The police have been extremely bad over there. So, can you give us a first-hand synopsis? You made this documentary a little while back. Tell us what the hell is going on there. How can they fix it? Or is it just everything is long gone because these politicians are paid off?
Well, with me, I'm a conservative, independent, compassionate, conservative, independent.
That's fair.
And yeah, and so the problem is that in a political climate in America, it's either far right or far left. That's not good for the country.
Agreed.
We need to be in the middle, like I was explaining before. I'm for helping those who want to do the right thing. Like if you're out there, you did something wrong, you did your time, you want to do the right thing, and we should have systems in place to help those people. The people that's out there that's continue to knuckleheads and want to do things they got no business doing, then they need to be put on timeout. Because not only the Black community don't want those people in the community. Because a lot of times liberals come in and they say, "Oh, well, they need a chance." Yeah, I understand all that, but you need to talk to us first. That's the problem. You need to come holler at us and talk to us and let us deal with that. Give us the tools and the resources to let you. Because in LA, when Chief Bratton was the chief of police, I was part of the Watch Gang Task Force. It was a community meeting because all the violence that was happening in different projects, Nicholson Gardens and Grape Street, Watts, and Imperial Courts. And they told Chief Bratton, you got officers that are planting dope on people, guns, and jacking up the kids that have straight A students. Get rid of them people, and we'll start working with you, and we'll start telling you about the people in our community that don't belong there. Chief Bratton told the captain at the time, I was standing right there when he told him, he said, let's listen to the people, let's move those officers, and then let's see what happens. So when they moved those officers out of Watts, now the community started telling them about unsolved murders and different stuff like that. They start working with the police. We had a program where we was helping parents and gang members give jobs. The police, we told the police, here's our business card. When you're jacking up the gang members, just don't jack them up, give them this resource. So they would give the gang members the card. You've seen the documentary, they'll give them the card and they would come to the office and they're like, we thought this was a joke. We've never seen law enforcement try to help us and give us a business card to try to help us get a job, even though we got criminal records and all that stuff. And then when I start working with those gang members, getting them jobs, even if they had criminal record, they start having respect for the police. Because they say, hey, it's not all about jacking us up, trying to take us to jail. What they didn't understand is that you out there doing wrong. Kids can't even come out and play. Kids are getting killed because y'all fighting each other with gunfire. This madness has to stop. So the police are not here jacking you up because they're racist or because they just want to pick on you. You guys are making it hard for the regular people that want to live. You're making it hard for them. So you need to stop this foolishness. So here in California, it's just too liberal. We need to get away from going far right, far left. We need to come in the middle. We need to talk to the people in the community and let them deal with it. Once the community sat down with Chief Bratton and told him what the problem was, he acted on it and it built a relationship with the community. Not only did they move those officers, but they started a thing called the Midnight Basketball League, where LAPD would play all the gangbangers in the developments and they would play to midnight. Why was they doing that? Because if they playing basketball, the community mothers used to come out and cook food. So they had the kids playing jumpers, the police was playing the gang members. It was keeping them busy. It was keeping them from out there shooting each other, because during the summer, they called it the Summer Light Basketball League. And so come talk to us. Look, we know what the problems are. We know what the solutions are. Let us handle it. Let's work with you in partnership to solve it. Stop coming from the ivory towers, coming down telling us, oh, we know what's good for you. No, you don't. You need to have a conversation with us. And so those are the kind of things that we need. We don't need straight right wing or left wing. We need in the middle. We need to meet in the middle.
No, I agree. And I think there needs to be more the neighborhood watch, and I was talking about this even with the police in the schools. you know, you need to have a relationship with these
Yes, you
kids. And
do.
some of these cops do,
Right.
but not all of them do, of course. I mean, that you're
Right.
going to get that with everything, any kind of
Right.
job, but
Right.
regardless. And, you know, I know that cities have gotten huge since the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. But I remember, you know, hearing these stories because I have a good friend that was in the NYPD for 35 years. He said we used to walk down the streets
Hmm.
and you talk to the people in the you know restaurants or
Yeah. Yep.
around, and he
Yep.
said they don't do that anymore.
That was
You
called
know, most
community.
plots.
Yeah, that was called community policing, and you
Right.
need that. See, the problem with law enforcement is the way it was started, as far as like with slavery, what they called it, the slave patrol, and then it just came up to today's time. And the problem with law enforcement that I see is that it brings the wrong kind of people that want to be police officers. You know,
Right.
people that want to be racist, want to have control over people and stuff like that. You need to weed those people out. I've worked with some really good-hearted police officers that I will vouch for any day. They do a real good job. They care about the community. They're not racist. I had an officer actually cried because it was so much. He had to go to a scene where a young man was laid out, and he said he went back to his patrol car and broke down because here's a teenage kid, mom's crying, and it's nothing he could do. You know what I'm saying? So they're human too, bro. So we got to get away from this demonizing the police. I'm not with defunding the police. What I am with is allocating resources to where you work in conjunction with the police, because sending a social worker out there to deal with someone that might get violent, you ain't gonna do nothing but, you know, cause more problems. So there's models out there that do work. Like you seen that documentary, you know, the work that I've done. We've already done the work. That's why I said, that's why I created Earn Our Trust. That's why we wrote the book. It's because we have solutions. Only thing we have to do is embrace them. We don't have to go create another program. We don't need to have another study that's going to take 2 or 3 years. I'm going to just break it down to you. This is really simple.
Sure.
When I was working in Watts, one of the biggest problems I heard was, you know, people get grants and the grant might be for a year, 5 years, whatever, how much money they give you. But once the grant is up, then they have to start begging for money. And sometimes they can't sustain it, so they leave. So what they need to do, programs that really do work, they need to set up endowments, fund these endowments where the money from the interest can actually keep the nonprofit sustainable. Like you have the Blue Cross and all these big box nonprofits, they have big healthy endowments that be able to offset costs. That's what we need with programs that actually work. And I'm the kind of person, and the people that I work with, we know what works. We actually done it. We're living proof of it. So, you know, right now we don't have a way, we're not big as Facebook where we can, you know, charge advertisement, but we do have our book available. So if anybody, you know, want to go to our website and, you know, download the book, that will help us out tremendously.
And then we'll really cut it short because the Ahmaud Arbery trial happened. That was definitely a racist incident. Anybody
Yes.
that
Yes.
doesn't believe that is in a total different dream world
Right.
by themselves.
Right.
I mean, the guy was just jogging down the road, getting some
Right.
exercise. God bless him. And
Right.
then a bunch of guys just wanted to shoot somebody that was black, and that's what it is. And that's what happened. So that was definitely 100% racist incident. The Kyle Rittenhouse thing, my thing is with him, and I'd like your take on both these things before we end.
Okay.
The Kyle Rittenhouse thing was, first of all, he was 17 years old. What the hell did he have that gun for?
Right.
An AK-47.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you what, if there was a black guy running around with that gun, he would have been shot and dead.
That's
And
true.
it's
That's
not
true.
a joke. It's
No,
legit. It's
they
serious.
they have incidents where they did on YouTube where they same kind of situation where you can carry open carry with an assault rifle, and they had the white guy walking around. The police pulled up, talked to him. He said, "I'm just exercising my first, you know, whatever right to carry on." Okay, have a nice day. They get in the car, drive away. When a black guy was with the same situation, they roll up, blazing sirens and pulling out guns. Get on the ground. So you're totally right about that. Yes, If it was a black person, it would have been a totally different situation.
Well, it's the same thing January 6th. If those were black people running on the Capitol,
Oh,
they would
yeah.
have been gone. They would have
Yes.
nailed
Yeah.
those guys quick.
Yeah.
None of
Yeah.
those police shot. They would
Right.
have shot all those dudes down.
Some of the police you've seen in the footage was encouraging the crowd. Hey, come on, like show them how to get in and all that kind of stuff. And that was a tipping point for our country. Like, we really need to get a hold of this. Even I wrote in my book, and I encourage people to go get it. You can get it on Amazon. It's under EarnOurTrust. You can go to our website, www.earnourtrust.com, and you can get the book there. But I talk about racist people. Listen, we're not going to change people's minds on how they feel and whatnot, whatever, right? But you can feel the way you want to feel, bro, but you don't have to go around killing people. If you don't like me, that's fine. You stay over there, I'll stay over here. You don't have to, if we come around each other, we be cool, but just keep it pushing. You don't have to kill me. I don't have to come try to kill you. You have your beliefs for whatever reason you believe what you believe, but we don't have to go around trying to hurt each other. And so I just think that's how it needs to be. It doesn't. What they did. Think about it. Now they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail for what? I mean, he didn't molest your child. He didn't go steal your life savings, right? He didn't do anything that would make a person want to kill you, right? Like, you hurt my child. Yeah, I might want to do something to you. Yeah, you take my life savings and empty out my bank account.
I think a lot of these guys are racist, obviously, but I think they want to be cops. Yeah. And they're too big of pussies to do the job or join the military. They're not man enough, so they're going to take it into their hands whether they want to kill somebody because they're racist or not. And that's what a lot of these dudes are.
It's all bullshit. And I'll tell you this, the fix the thing with law enforcement, you have to change the culture. A lot of the guys on top, there's one thing like with LAPD, what I've seen is that when you have your captain or your police chief changing the culture, saying, when they move those officers, a lot of the cops didn't like it. Oh man, that's wrong. But no, those was bad apples. And so when you can't foster that negativity, what a lot of these dudes, they leave the department. A lot of LA cops that was racist moved to Las Vegas. This was like maybe 10 years ago. And Las Vegas was starting to see an uptick in police shootings. And when they investigated, they said it was a lot of those bad apples that was with LAPD, who once LAPD start changing the culture, if I'm a bad apple, I don't like the way the direction of the department is going.
Right.
So I'm going to go to another department that will allow me to be a cowboy. And that's what you have to do. You got to change the culture to where they want to exit. And it has to be, that's why I believe in a federal mandate with law enforcement, because what happens is they leave one department and they go to another one. Like, I live in LA, but like if I go like the city of Torrance or Hermosa Beach, I know the difference, because like when I'm in LA, I'm cool with LAPD. Even with the sheriff department, which they need a little working too. My friend Sheriff Rambo is running for sheriff, but when you go to these smaller towns, I feel like I'm going 10 years back. But like when I'm in LA, it's cool. Or if I'm in the county of LA with the sheriffs and all that, I still feel cool because I'm cool with the sheriff department. I feel safe. When the cops stop me, I'm talking to them, and whatever the issue is, we talk about it, and it's cool. But when I go to some of these smaller cities, that's just like going 10 years back. They jacking you up, laying you on the ground, like, damn, dude, like, you guys are backwards. Like, so it just got to change the culture in law enforcement. You have to have more civilians involved. You got to sit down and have more community dialogue. The police chief need to sit down with the community and take out a blank sheet of paper and ask them, how would you guys like to see your community policed? Take some of those recommendations with common sense practices and merge the two, and then start building that change that you want to see. Because I'm going to tell you something. Black people don't like criminals in their community. We don't want gangbangers. We don't want drive-by shooters. We don't care if you jack them up and get them out of the community. But my son is a straight A student, and just because the way he dressed, you think he's a gang member, but he's just dressing with the kids' style today. But if the cops know the kids, they know, no, he's cool, but that dude over there, he's a shooter. You know, let's jack him up and try to figure a way to get him off the street. You know, and I support that.
All right, we got to do this again. Earn Our Trust, Eddie Goodman. Eddie, where can people find the book, the app, all that stuff?
It's just easy. Go to www.earnourtrust.com. The icon for the Apple Store and Google Play is on my website. You just scroll down. You can click that icon, and it'll take you to the store, and you can download the app. You can buy the book. You click the link on the book. It says buy now. That'll take you to Amazon. And if you just want to go to Amazon directly, just type in Earn Our Trust. The book will pop up. It's called Job Creators, Innovation, and Accountability. And one thing I want to end on, innovation. I think the American people, we need to start producing more Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, because once we start taking regular people and supporting good people of goodwill and supporting them, then we'll start seeing a change. But when we just depending on the few billionaires that we got, and I'm not saying they're good or bad, that's another discussion for another time, but we need to start producing more people like me and yourself who would do the right thing if we had the resources. And so we just need to build a community that support people that's actually going to do the work, be the change that you want to be in the world by stepping it up.
Eddie Goodman, Earn Our Trust, EarnOurTrust.com. Eddie, thanks so much, man. It's
Thank
been
you
a pleasure.
very much. Thank you for having me. Can't wait to do it again.